Martha had spent her entire life caring for her family, with nothing but love and selflessness. She had raised her daughter Laura on her own after her husband's passing, working tirelessly to ensure Laura had every opportunity in life. She had given all she could, sacrificing her own dreams and comfort for her daughter's future. Martha's love for Laura was unwavering, and she believed that the bond they shared was one built on gratitude and respect. But as Laura grew older, something began to change. Once a loving and devoted daughter, Laura became more focused on her own life, climbing the social ladder and chasing wealth. Her career success brought her new friends, a luxurious lifestyle, and an ego that seemed to grow alongside her bank account. She saw her mother, now aging and frail, as a burden rather than the woman who had given her everything. Laura dismissed Martha's sacrifices, seeing her mother as someone who had never achieved much in life, who had nothing to offer but memories of the past. For years, Martha had lived with Laura, quietly enduring the subtle dismissals, the cold silences, and the feeling of being unwelcome in her daughter's home. Laura had made it clear that she saw her mother as a hindrance, someone taking up space and costing her money. Still, Martha tried to stay positive, thinking that if she just gave Laura time, her daughter might remember the love they had once shared. But one evening, everything came to a head. Laura had returned from work, already in a bad mood after a long day. She found Martha in the living room, sitting quietly with a cup of tea, and began to vent about her day. Martha, always eager to listen, offered some gentle advice, reminding Laura to take care of herself and not let stress consume her. But Laura's patience snapped. She saw her mother's words as interference, a reminder of the past she wanted to leave behind. "Why don't you ever understand?" Laura snapped, her voice laced with irritation. "I'm tired of this, Mother. I'm tired of coming home and feeling suffocated. You've had your time, your life. Why are you still here, holding me back?" Martha's heart sank. She had always tried to stay out of Laura's way, to give her space, but Laura's words cut through her, deeper than she'd thought possible. "Laura, I'm just trying to help. I don't want to be a burden," Martha said softly, her voice trembling. But Laura wasn't listening. "That's exactly what you are, Mother. A burden. I can't live my life fully with you here, constantly reminding me of what I need to do, how I should act. I've given you a place to stay, and I've done more than enough. It's time you found somewhere else." The shock of Laura's words left Martha speechless. She had never imagined that her own daughter, the child she had loved and sacrificed so much for, would turn her out of her home. In that moment, Martha felt her heart shatter, the pieces falling to the floor along with the memories of a lifetime spent loving and raising the daughter she thought she knew. With tears in her eyes, Martha looked at Laura, searching for any sign of remorse, of understanding, but found none. Laura's expression was one of cold resolve, as if she had already moved on from the conversation, from her mother, as if she were merely handling an inconvenience. Martha knew she couldn't stay where she wasn't wanted. Despite the pain in her heart, she gathered her few belongings, packing them into an old suitcase she had kept for decades. She moved through Laura's house, in silence, each step heavy with the realization that the home she thought was hers was no longer a place she belonged. As she reached the door, Martha turned one last time, looking at her daughter with a mixture of sadness and forgiveness. "I hope one day, Laura, you understand what love truly is. I may be leaving, but I will always love you," she whispered, her voice barely audible. But Laura didn't respond, her attention already on her phone, texting away as if her mother's departure was just a minor distraction. With a deep breath, Martha stepped out into the night, the chill of the evening air seeping into her bones as she pulled her worn coat around her. She had nowhere to go, no plan, and no family to turn to. Her once safe and loving world had collapsed, leaving her alone and uncertain of where to go next. As Martha walked through the darkened streets, her mind filled with memories of happier times, when Laura was young and would run into her arms, laughing and full of joy. She held on to those memories, clutching them tightly in her heart, for they were all she had left. Martha wandered through the quiet streets, her steps heavy with the weight of loss and betrayal. The memories of her life, of the years she had devoted to raising Laura, of every sacrifice she had made to give her daughter a future, played through her mind. But now, all she felt was a hollow emptiness where her home and family had once been. As the hours passed, Martha's tired legs led her to a small park, where she sat down on a bench, shivering against the cold. She hugged her coat tighter around herself, but it did little to shield her from the biting wind. She looked up at the stars, their distant glow somehow comforting in her loneliness. It was then that a woman approached her, a stranger with a kind smile and warm eyes. "Are you all right, ma'am?" the woman asked, her tone gentle and filled with genuine concern. Martha looked up, her tired eyes meeting the stranger's. She hesitated, unsure of how much to share, but there was something in the woman's expression that felt comforting, almost familiar. I don't really know," Martha replied softly, her voice breaking. "I've lost my home, my family, everything." The woman sat down beside her, not pressing for details, but simply being there. After a moment of silence, she introduced herself. "My name is Sarah. I live nearby. Please let me help you. You can stay with me for tonight. No one should be out here alone." Martha felt a mix of gratitude and relief. She had been prepared to spend the night on that cold bench. Yet here was someone offering her kindness without expecting anything in return. She nodded, accepting Sarah's offer, and followed her to a small, cozy apartment a few blocks away. The warmth of Sarah's home enveloped her, and for the first time since leaving Laura's house, Martha felt a sliver of comfort. Sarah made her a cup of tea and sat with her at the kitchen table, giving her space to share her story. Slowly, Martha opened up, telling Sarah about her life, her daughter, and the heartbreak she had just endured. She spoke of the years she had spent raising Laura, the sacrifices she had made, and the deep hurt of being discarded by her own child. As Martha spoke, Sarah listened intently, her expression shifting from sympathy to something else, disbelief perhaps, or a quiet anger on Martha's behalf. She couldn't understand how anyone, especially a daughter, could treat her mother with such coldness. By the time Martha had finished, Sarah's heart was heavy with empathy for the woman before her. "Martha, I am so sorry," Sarah said, reaching out to hold her hand. "You didn't deserve that. You gave her everything, and for her to throw you out, it's unforgivable." Martha nodded, tears welling in her eyes. I never thought it would come to this. I thought family meant love, loyalty. I thought she cared for me. But I was wrong." Sarah squeezed her hand, reassuringly. "You have a family now," she said, her voice filled with warmth. "As long as you're with me, you won't be alone." Over the days that followed, Sarah took Martha in as if she were family, providing her with a room and meals, and most importantly, companionship. They spent hours talking, sharing stories of their lives, laughing and crying together. Martha felt her heart healing, slowly but surely, as Sarah became a true friend, someone who valued her not for what she could give, but for who she was. Sarah's curiosity about Martha's life grew, especially about her history and what she had left behind. She learned that Martha had once been a respected member of her community, known for her kindness and generosity. Martha had given everything for her daughter, working multiple jobs, selling her small family jewelry pieces, and even taking out loans to ensure that Laura had a future. It hurt Sarah deeply to think that Laura had taken all of that for granted, dismissing her mother as if she were nothing. Driven by both compassion and a sense of justice, Sarah decided to do some digging. She asked a few questions around town and eventually discovered the full extent of Laura's greed. It turned out that Laura had manipulated Martha into giving her access to certain family assets, even tricking her into signing documents that transferred ownership of Martha's small savings account. Laura had taken every penny, leaving her mother with nothing, simply because she believed her mother's usefulness had ended. Sarah couldn't bear to stay silent. She shared her findings with Martha, who was heartbroken but not entirely surprised. Deep down, Martha had suspected that Laura had been exploiting her, but she had clung to the hope that her daughter's actions had been driven by ignorance or desperation, not malice. "Why would she do this?" Martha whispered, her voice filled with sorrow. "I loved her. I trusted her." "Some people lose their way, Martha," Sarah replied gently. "But that doesn't mean they should get away with hurting others. You deserve justice." Encouraged by Sarah's determination, Martha decided to take action. With Sarah's help, she met with a legal advisor who was appalled by her story and eager to assist. They gathered the evidence of Laura's manipulation and deceit, preparing to confront her with the truth. But the justice that followed was more than either of them had anticipated. News of Martha's situation spread through the community, and the people who had once respected her came forward, offering support. They remembered Martha's kindness, the sacrifices she had made, and the warmth she had brought to their lives. They were outraged by Laura's actions and rallied behind Martha, determined to see that justice was served. In the end, Laura was forced to return everything she had taken from her mother, losing not only her ill-gotten gains, but also the respect of the community. She found herself shunned by those who had once admired her, left to confront the consequences of her greed alone. As for Martha, she found a new home with Sarah, who had become like the daughter she had always wished for. Surrounded by friends and a community that cherished her, Martha rediscovered the joy of family, the family she had built through kindness, compassion, and resilience. In the end, Martha found peace, knowing that she was loved and valued for who she was. And though her journey had been filled with heartache, she had found justice and healing in the most unexpected way, through the kindness of a stranger who had become her family. In the weeks following the confrontation, Martha settled into her new life with a profound sense of peace and gratitude. For the first time in a long while, she woke up each day without the weight of regret or the feeling of loneliness that had once shadowed her heart. Sarah had become her rock, and as they shared their days together, their bond grew stronger. They cooked meals side by side, took walks through the neighborhood, and sat on the porch during long afternoons, watching the world go by with quiet contentment. Word of Martha's story continued to ripple through the community, touching hearts and inspiring others to reconnect with loved ones they had taken for granted. People who had once known Martha only from a distance now reached out to her, bringing small gifts and stopping by for visits. She became something of a beloved figure in town, a symbol of resilience, kindness, and the strength it took to reclaim her dignity. With each visit and each heartfelt conversation, Martha's heart grew lighter, her faith in humanity restored. One afternoon, As she and Sarah sat on the porch, an unexpected visitor approached. It was Laura, standing at the gate, her face drawn with guilt and remorse. Martha's heart stirred with a mixture of emotions: sadness, a flicker of anger, and a deep longing for the daughter she had once loved so unconditionally. She watched as Laura hesitated, seeming smaller and less confident than she had ever seen her, a far cry from the self-assured woman who had once dismissed her mother so easily. "Mama, may I come in?" Laura's voice trembled, and Martha could see the pain and regret etched into her expression. Sarah gave Martha's hand a reassuring squeeze, then stood up, giving them space. Martha nodded gently, motioning for Laura to come closer. She felt an old familiar ache rising in her chest, but she steadied herself, reminding herself of all she had gained since leaving Laura's house. She was no longer the helpless, discarded woman she had been. She was stronger now, surrounded by love and friendship, and no longer willing to accept mistreatment, not even from her own daughter. Laura sat beside her, her eyes brimming with tears. I don't even know where to start," she began, her voice breaking. "I have made terrible mistakes. I let greed consume me, and I forgot what really mattered. I forgot how much you mean to me." Martha listened in silence, letting Laura's words wash over her. She could see the sincerity in her daughter's face, a vulnerability that she hadn't seen since Laura was a young girl. But Martha knew that forgiveness wasn't just about words. It was about actions, about proving that the regret was genuine. "I don't understand how you could have hurt me like that, Laura," Martha said softly, her voice steady. "I gave you everything I had, my love, my life. I never asked for anything in return, but I didn't expect you to throw me away." Laura's head dropped, and she wiped her tears away, her shoulders shaking. "I was wrong, Mama. So wrong. I thought I needed things, status, all these things that mean nothing now. I forgot that you were the only person who ever truly loved me." She looked up, her gaze filled with desperation. "Please, if you can find it in your heart, give me a chance to make things right." Martha looked at her daughter for a long moment, the years of pain, love, and memories flashing before her eyes. She could feel the walls of her heart beginning to soften, her own love for Laura resurfacing despite the hurt she had endured. But she also knew that this second chance was not one to be given lightly. She had learned the importance of self-respect, of choosing to be around people who valued her for who she was. "Laura," she began, choosing her words carefully, "I've forgiven you in my heart, because that's who I am. I won't let resentment steal my peace. But forgiveness doesn't mean things will go back to the way they were. You have to earn back my trust, and that will take time." Laura nodded, understanding the depth of her mother's words. "I will, Mama. I'll prove to you that I've changed, that I can be the daughter you deserve." Over the months that followed, Laura worked to rebuild her relationship with her mother. She visited regularly, helping Martha and Sarah around the house, spending time listening to her mother's stories and slowly mending the wounds she had caused. Each visit was a small step toward healing, and while the scars remained, they began to fade, replaced by new memories of warmth and understanding. Martha watched Laura's efforts with a guarded heart, but she also felt a quiet joy in seeing her daughter rediscover the importance of family, humility, and love. With Sarah by her side, Martha felt grounded, confident in the family she had chosen, while cautiously allowing Laura back into her life. In time, the three of them became something of an unusual family. Sarah, once a stranger, had become like a daughter to Martha, a constant presence of kindness and strength. Laura, slowly redeeming herself, became part of that bond, understanding the true meaning of family through the love she had nearly lost forever. And so, Martha's life, once marked by heartache and betrayal, became one of forgiveness, resilience, and a newfound family. She had found justice not through revenge, but through the kindness of strangers and the power of self-respect. In the end, her journey taught Laura the most important lesson of all, that love, when nurtured and cherished, can heal even the deepest wounds, and that sometimes justice comes in the form of unexpected friendships and a second chance at family. As the years went by, Martha's life continued to blossom in ways she had never anticipated. Her home, once a place of sorrow, became a haven of warmth and laughter. Sarah, her loyal and loving friend, remained by her side through every season, sharing in her joys and supporting her through her challenges. Together they tended a small garden in the backyard, filled with vibrant flowers and herbs. It became a cherished routine for them, a symbol of the life they had built together, one that was filled with resilience, peace, and beauty. Laura's journey of redemption was slow but steady. She came by regularly, not just to visit, but to truly be present. She would bring groceries, cook meals, and, over time, even joined Martha and Sarah in tending the garden. Every act of kindness and humility brought Laura closer to her mother and taught her the value of love over material gain. Through her mother's forgiveness, Laura began to transform, shedding the selfishness that had once consumed her. One afternoon, as the three women worked together in the garden, Laura looked over at Martha, a shy smile on her face. "Mama, I never told you this, but I'm truly grateful for this chance you've given me. I don't deserve it, but I'm so thankful." Martha placed a hand on Laura's, her heart full of a love that had weathered so much pain, yet had survived. "You do deserve it, Laura. We all make mistakes, but what matters is what we choose to do after. You've chosen to be here, to make things right, and that's all I ever wanted for you." For the first time, Laura felt a sense of peace, knowing that she had her mother's love and forgiveness, not out of obligation, but because of genuine acceptance. They hugged, the embrace filled with a depth of emotion that spoke to all they had endured and all they had healed. Sarah, watching this moment, couldn't help but smile. She knew what it had taken for Martha to reach this point, to forgive and welcome her daughter back into her life. Sarah felt privileged to witness their bond, grateful to be part of the family they had built together. As the days passed, the community also began to see the change in Laura. She grew more compassionate, often volunteering alongside Sarah and Martha to help elderly neighbors with chores or by delivering homemade meals. People no longer remembered her as the greedy daughter who had once wronged her mother. Instead, they saw her as a woman who had faced her mistakes and had chosen a path of redemption, inspired by the love and resilience of her mother. One day, the community hosted a small celebration in honor of Martha, recognizing her as a symbol of strength and grace. Neighbors, friends, and even people who had only heard of her story gathered in the town square, bringing flowers, letters, and small gifts. Martha was deeply moved by the love and appreciation that surrounded her, the kindness of strangers who had become friends and family. It was a moment of fulfillment, a realization that her life, though filled with hardship, had been a journey worth taking. As Martha stood in the center of the crowd, holding hands with Sarah on one side and Laura on the other, she felt a profound sense of peace. The years of struggle, betrayal, and heartache had led her here, to a life rich with love, friendship, and the resilience to forgive. That night, as they returned home, Martha looked at Sarah and Laura, her eyes filled with gratitude. I never imagined I would be this blessed. Family isn't just who you're born to. It's who chooses to stand by you through everything. Laura nodded, understanding her mother's words deeply. She knew that the second chance she had been given was rare, and she vowed to cherish it, to live in a way that would make her mother proud. The rest of their days together were filled with simple joys, shared meals, quiet conversations, and laughter that came easily. Their home was a sanctuary, a place where past mistakes were forgiven, and love had the power to heal even the deepest wounds. Martha, Sarah, and Laura had created something beautiful from the brokenness they had each faced. And in that beauty, Martha found the justice she had longed for, not through punishment, but through transformation, healing, and the unconditional love of family. In the end, Martha's life became a testament to the power of forgiveness, the strength of the human spirit, and the unexpected paths that lead us to find our true family. Surrounded by the people who loved her, Martha knew she had found her peace, and with it, a legacy of kindness and resilience that would live on long after her. As the years continued to unfold, Martha's home became a cherished gathering place for the community. Friends and neighbors often visited, drawn by the warmth and love that seemed to fill every corner of the house. Martha, Sarah, and Laura hosted Sunday dinners, inviting those who needed company or simply wanted to share in the joy of their newfound family. These gatherings became a tradition, each meal a celebration of love, forgiveness, and second chances. Martha, now in her late years, found joy in the simplicity of her life. She spent her days in the garden, nurturing the plants that she, Sarah, and Laura had grown together, each bloom a reminder of the love that had flourished from her journey. The garden had become a sanctuary, not just for Martha, but for everyone who visited, its colors and fragrance a testament to resilience and growth. One sunny afternoon, as Martha sat on the porch, enjoying the gentle breeze, she watched Laura and Sarah tending to the flowers. The sight of them working side by side filled her heart with a profound sense of gratitude. It was a scene she never thought she would witness. A daughter she had once lost, now beside her as a loving companion, and a friend who had become like a daughter. The pain of her past felt distant now, replaced by the warmth of a life she had rebuilt from the ashes of betrayal. Sarah approached her, wiping her hands on her apron, her face lit with a smile. "Martha, we have a surprise for you." Martha raised an eyebrow, curiosity sparkling in her eyes. "A surprise? What could you two possibly have up your sleeves?" Laura joined them, carrying a small box wrapped with a ribbon. She handed it to Martha, her expression filled with a mixture of excitement and tenderness. "We wanted to thank you, Mama, for everything. For your love, your forgiveness, and for giving us both a second chance." With trembling hands, Martha opened the box, finding a beautifully bound journal inside. The cover was embossed with her initials, and inside, each page was filled with stories, memories, and letters written by both Sarah and Laura. They had documented their journey together, the moments of growth, the laughter they shared, and the lessons they had learned. Tears welled in Martha's eyes as she flipped through the pages, reading the heartfelt words that her two daughters, one by birth, the other by choice, had written for her. Every story, every memory captured in the journal was a testament to the love they had built, the bond that had grown between them. "Thank you," Martha whispered, her voice choked with emotion. This means everything to me. You both mean everything to me." They embraced, the three of them, holding each other close as the sunlight bathed them in its warmth. It was a moment of pure, unspoken love, a love that had been tested, refined, and ultimately strengthened by the trials they had faced together. As the years passed, Martha's health began to fade, but her spirit remained strong. She was surrounded by the family she had created, a family born not of blood, but of compassion, loyalty, and forgiveness. When the time came for her to say goodbye, Martha was at peace, knowing that her life had been filled with purpose, that she had left behind a legacy of love. In her final days, Sarah and Laura stayed by her side, holding her hand, comforting her with stories and laughter, just as she had once done for them. They read to her from the journal they had created, each page a reminder of the life they had shared, the memories they had made. When Martha passed, it was with a gentle smile on her face, surrounded by the love of her two daughters. Her passing was a celebration, a moment of gratitude for a life well lived, for the lessons she had taught, and for the family she had built against all odds. After Martha's passing, Sarah and Laura continued the traditions she had started, opening their home to those who needed comfort, love, and a reminder that family could be found in the most unexpected places. They tended to the garden, its blooms now a living tribute to Martha, each flower carrying her memory forward, a symbol of the resilience and beauty she had instilled in them. Martha's legacy endured, not only in her family, but in the hearts of everyone who had known her. She had shown them that true justice was found in forgiveness, that strength came from love, and that family was something you could create, no matter where you started. And so, Martha's story lived on, a story of second chances, of kindness that blossomed even in the darkest of times, and of a love that healed and transformed. It was a story that would be passed down, shared at gatherings, remembered in laughter and tears, a reminder that the truest family is one that holds you close, sees you through, and loves you unconditionally. Martha's passing left a deep, cherished memory in the hearts of those who had known her, and her home remained a place of warmth and love long after she was gone. Sarah and Laura, bound by the legacy Martha had left them, continued her traditions, honoring her memory with every act of kindness they extended to others. Together, they cared for the garden Martha had loved so much, each flower a testament to the resilience and beauty she had inspired. As the years rolled on, Martha's story became one that Sarah and Laura shared often, both with visitors and with each new person who came into their lives. They told of Martha's quiet strength, her unwavering kindness, and the remarkable forgiveness that had brought them together as a family. Her story was one of hope, a reminder that love could overcome even the greatest of betrayals, and that family was not defined solely by blood, but by loyalty, compassion, and the courage to forgive. One quiet spring morning, as Sarah and Laura tended to the blooming flowers, they placed a small plaque in the garden, dedicating it to Martha's memory. The inscription read, "In loving memory of Martha, who taught us that family is found in the hearts that love us. May her legacy of kindness live on forever." Standing side by side, Sarah and Laura knew that they carried Martha's spirit within them, a guiding light that would forever remind them of the power of forgiveness, the strength of family, and the beauty of a love that endures. And so, Martha's story found its gentle, lasting end. It was a life that had been touched by pain, but healed by love, a journey that transformed her heartbreak into a legacy of grace and compassion. Her memory lived on in every person who had been inspired by her, in every act of kindness that Sarah and Laura shared, and in every bloom of the garden she had cherished. Martha's story was, indeed, complete, her life a testament to resilience, forgiveness, and a love that, even in her absence, would continue to bloom for generations to come.